Good evening, everybody. My name is Bob Norton. I'd like to welcome everybody to this banquet program for the New Hampshire Hall of Fame, the Legends of Hockey. And we're certainly honoring some legends tonight. Without further ado, I would like to introduce to you the president of the Legends of Hockey, great hockey player himself at the University of New Hampshire and Berlin High, Johnny Norman. John?
Thank you, Bob. Welcome, everyone. On behalf of the Legends of Hockey, it's my pleasure to welcome all of you to the 14th induction ceremony of the New Hampshire Hockey Hall of Fame. Congratulations to our 7 Hall of Fame inductees. A special welcome to their families and friends who have come to join in today's celebration. In addition, I also want to welcome back all of our current Hall of Fame members. We're gathered here today because of a game that has touched each of our lives in many different ways. This is a unique event that brings the New Hampshire hockey community under one roof, where we can rekindle old friendships, foster new ones, and celebrate the past, present, and future of New Hampshire hockey. Of course, we're gathered here primarily to honor 7 individuals who've made significant contributions to the sport of hockey in New Hampshire as players and builders. Our class of 2015 represents both the past and present of hockey in New Hampshire. Like all of our members of our Hall of Fame, our new inductees have given back to the sport of hockey as builders, supporting or managing various hockey programs at a local or national level, and as players who have left their unique imprint on the New Hampshire hockey landscape, beginning from their youth hockey days, high school or prep, to college, some on to professional and the Olympics. Now I'd like to take a moment to introduce to you today some of the dignitaries that are with us. Senator Lou D'Alessandro, Mayor Jim Bowley of Concord, and Joe Britannia, Commissioner of Hockey East and our keynote speaker today. Also want to mention we have 2 members from the 2 former members from the Board of Directors of the Massachusetts Hockey Hall of Fame, Steve Burke and Dan Esdale. As most of you know, the Legends were formed in 2001 with our primary mission of honoring, celebrating, and preserving New Hampshire's rich ice hockey history while supporting the development of hockey. As noted in our program, the first organized hockey game with rules in the United States was played in 1883 on a pond here in Concord by students of St. Paul's School, one of our co-title sponsors, St. Paul's School. Thank you. You can access the Hockey Hall of Fame and our Hockey Museum over the internet, the New Hampshire Legends website, which is nhlegendsofhockey.com, which is also in your program. We really recommend that if you want to see the rich hockey history, it's all right there. Please go and utilize the website for that rich repository of information for hockey here in the state. Nominations of deserving individuals for the induction into the 2016 class can be filed by anyone and are due by March 1st. The nomination form with supporting documentation will be available on the website after January 1st. So please, if you know someone that you think is deserving to be in this Hall of Fame, we urge you to go and fill out an application. We're constantly looking for new members, and we need your support and your help in identifying who those people are. In the past few years, the focus of the Legends has continued to expand by supporting the growth of hockey at all levels. For example, we've supported several youth programs with our partner, Bauer Hockey, for a number of years now, and we've partnered with the high school coaches to sponsor the boys' all-state hockey game and to recognize both boys and girls all-state players. In addition, we also partner with the New Hampshire prep school coaches to recognize all of their all-state players for both boys and girls divisions. In addition, we supported the boys' Make-A-Wish game between New Hampshire and Vermont. Last year, we supported the Black Ice Pond Hockey Classic, a senior pond hockey tournament here in Concord, and we'll be sponsoring that event again this year. They connect many of us on the Legends board to our roots, the days when we learned to play hockey on the local ponds in our respective communities. In 2016, you can expect the Legends to continue expanding our support of hockey in New Hampshire, particularly the future of the sport at the grassroots level, youth hockey. We've begun preliminary discussions with the board of directors from the New Hampshire Amateur Hockey Association to look at ways in which we can assist them to making the sport more attractive and to continue the tradition of outstanding hockey in New Hampshire. I kind of like the thought of a farm system called the Future Legends of Hockey, and we are really excited about working with the New Hampshire Youth Program to develop it. I would also like to thank our key sponsors. First, our presenting sponsor, Bauer, whose global headquarters are in Exeter. Tori, thank you so much for your continued support and your help. Please extend our thanks to Mr. Davis. I would also like to thank our two co-title sponsors, Vashon Kluke and Company of Manchester. Bob Vashon is on the board of directors and is just an invaluable member. Thank you so much, Bob. Where are you? Please stand, Bob. Thank you. And also, St. Paul School is our other co-sponsor. Unfortunately, we don't have anyone from St. Paul's here, but again, thank you so much for your continued support. In addition, many thanks to our longtime social hour sponsor, New Hampshire Distributors. Tom Brown and Chris are here with us today. Again, we thank you for your continued support. In addition to these longtime major sponsors, we'd like to recognize the support of our 6 gold, 14 silver sponsors whose names appear on the banners around the room. Thank you for your generosity and support. Thank you. The New Hampshire Legends is a nonprofit organization that depends on your support and that of our sponsors to continue our mission. Once again, I want to thank each of our sponsors, and I want to congratulate our class of 2015 inductees. Families, friends, thank you all for attending our ceremony today. I'd also like to introduce our board of directors who worked tirelessly all year to organize these events. And if you would all stand after I read off the list, we would like to acknowledge you after. Executive Director Jim Hayes, Mike Gould, Vice President, Colleen Lawson, Treasurer. Jim Rivers, Hall of Fame, Class of 2013. Bob Vachon from Vachon and Cloquet. Roland Olivier, Past President. Pierre Belanger, Hall of Fame, Class of 2002. Mark Bogaz is our museum photographer. Dick Boucher, Hall of Fame, Class of 2005. Dave Corvo. Peter Marr, Class of 2013. Roland Martin, Jim DeRemus, Tom Moulton, Dick Roy, Class of 2005, and Dave Beauchamp. I'd also like to recognize 3 outstanding individuals who have concluded their service on our board of directors since last October. Matt Myers, Greg Moffett, and Renee Leclerc. Gentlemen, we thank you for your dedication and devotion to our organization. Thank you. I'd also like to take a moment to remember some of our teammates that we lost over the past year, including Sam Paquette, our friend and former Legends board member, Ron Peters, Hall of Famer, and Topher Leclerc, son of our friend and former president, Renee Leclerc. Thank you all for attending today. We appreciate your support.
Thanks very much, John. You'll notice in your program that it says, addressed by Senator Lou D'Alessandro. I've informed him tonight that he is not Abraham Lincoln, and if he delivers an address, he'll be banned from all future events. But nonetheless, my good friend, a longtime supporter of Legends of New Hampshire hockey, a great supporter of the University of New Hampshire, State Senator Lou D'Alessandro.
Thank you very much, Bob. It's always a pleasure to be here with Mayor Boulay and company, and so many great fans of hockey. I attended all of the hockey games when I was a student at the university, and got to be my classmate at the university, Rod Blackburn, was the first All-American at UNH, the first hockey All-American at UNH. And I saw Blackie at the UNH Clarkson game. He still looks like he could play. And I might say, Nortz, I was at the game against Boston University when he was a freshman, when he made 104 saves and was pictured in Sports Illustrated, you know, those little captions, and Blackie was in there. And he never forgot to wear his New England Championship Notre Dame High School hockey jacket. I think he slept in it. So it's an honor to be here. The governor isn't here this evening, but she has been at these events in the past. We have a citation for each and every member of the group. And Mr. DiGregorio, where is he? East Boston boy. I was born and brought up in East Boston, tutta Italiana. So it brought me here. Congratulations. I'm very pleased to see that. So the governor has a letter. We have a proclamation for each and every individual. Want to congratulate them, but I want to extend my deepest congratulations to the son of your MC, Bob Norton, Pat Norton, who has been appointed head hockey coach at Tufts University. Now that's a step up from Rutgers, because where Bob went to school, but Tufts University, and I grew up on College Avenue in Medford, and would sneak into the gym to play basketball when I was growing up. So Pat will be the head hockey coach at Tufts, and will do great things for the Jumbos. So with that, Brother Norton, thank you very much. Great to see all of you. Have a great American Day. Go Pats! Thank you.
Watch your step. Watch your step going down. When you're our age, you got to make sure you use the steps. By the way, I know a lot of folks out there because I asked a lot of questions tonight before I finally found the answer. And I found the answer about a half an hour ago, so I'm sure many others don't know. UNH 5, Union 2 last night at Union. So a big win for the Wildcats after blowing a 6-1 lead at UMass on Friday, so things are heading in the right direction. That's a great win for Dick and the UNH hockey program. We have a great mayor here in the city of Concord. He's done tremendous things, notwithstanding the fact he's up for re-election, but that's neither here nor there. But he comes to this on a regular basis. He's a great supporter of hockey in the city of Concord. And without further ado, please recognize the Honorable Mayor of the city of Concord, Mr. Jim Boulay.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is never, I looked at the program when I got here and I said, ooh, this is not a good spot to be. After the Honorable True American Senator Lou D'Alessandro and right before lunch. So I'm going to make sure I make these remarks real quick. So good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another great day in the city of Concord. As the mayor of the city of Concord, I am proud once again to welcome you to what I like to call the cradle of American hockey. Because as you know, this right here in Concord is where it all began on a frosty morning on November 17th, 1883 at St. Paul's School. We are very proud of our hockey heritage here in the capital city, and we are home, as you probably well know, to two Olympic hockey athletes, Douglas Everett, who skated in the 1932 Olympics in Lake Placid, New York, and of course, Tara Mounsey, gold medalist on the 1998 women's team and a silver medalist in the 2002 games as well. We are proud of the many men and women who have called Concord home, who not only have played the sport of ice hockey at various levels, but who continue to give back to this great game in a multitude of ways. Someone once said, to play the game is good, to win is better, but to love the game is best of all. And in Concord, hockey is truly the lifeblood of our capital city. During the winter months, the kids, the ponds, they're full of hockey players. So whether it's supporting your local youth hockey teams, rooting for the local high school teams, following one of the many New Hampshire college teams, or even pulling for the Manchester Monarchs or the Boston Bruins, this is a passionate hockey community. I want to commend the legends of New Hampshire hockey for their continued support of this great game, and for all that they do throughout the year to maintain the rich history and traditions of the sport of hockey in New Hampshire. I'm also like to encourage you, if you are not already a supporter of the New Hampshire Legends of Hockey, please consider joining, becoming part of something that I consider to be very special. I want to congratulate the 7 inductees who will join the more than 100 members of the New Hampshire Hockey Hall of Fame here today. I want to thank you for what you've done for this great sport. And to the Legends Executive Board, I'd like to personally thank you for choosing our great city, which honored those who have contributed so much to the sport of hockey. So please enjoy the rest of your festivities, and I look forward to seeing you all in January at the Black Ice Hockey Tournament. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mayor. To recognize the honored team, I'd like to call back to the mic President John Norman. Johnny?
So, as you know, it's a tradition that we honor a team, and this year we've selected a team from Nashua. Most of the hockey enthusiasts think of hockey hotbeds in the early 1900s here in New Hampshire. They immediately think of Berlin, Concord, Manchester, Hanover. However, also steeped in a rich history was Nashua. In fact, periodicals show Nashua had as many as 8 town teams playing in the early 20s, and one of them eventually traveled throughout northern New England, matching up with foes from Melrose, Berlin, Waterville, Lewiston, as well as Boston. In 1927, they won against all of those teams, winning 16, losing 15, and tying 5. That team was the National Club, sometimes known as Club National. which is mentioned in our program. The Nationals played for about 10 years, and over that time had 2 former NHL players that played for them. According to the Nashua Telegraph, on December 17, 1948, a local group revealed plans to form an amateur hockey team called the Nashua Royals. This was a departure from the arrangements made the prior year to back a high school independent team. Tony Joyal was named to be their first coach, and several players skated the previous season as the high school independents. Paul and Bob Dion were selected as the first captains, and other players between ages of 16 and 21 were Rene Joyal, Gil Dumas, Roger Kerouac, John Lanoy, Jim Connor, Roland McLeod, Robert Bernard, Dick Spory, Rich Lepine, and Roland Wedge. They later selected others to fill out the team for that year. In the 50s, the Royals played in New Hampshire League against Laconia, Dover, Wolfboro, Suncook, and Rye. Their home ice was the famed Holman Baseball Stadium, which often had played some night games there. Part of the Royals' history included the 1952 Amateur League Championship, where Royals goaltender Ernie Barabee made 59 saves en route to shutting down the Rye Seahawks by a score of 8-4. The following weekend, Nashua faced Linfield at their home rink in Lynn, Mass. for the New England AHA Class B Championship. This time, a hat trick by Kelly and Berube's 32 saves weren't enough as the Royals fell 14-10. Fast forward to the 60s, when Ken McKinnon, member of our Hall of Fame, started the Granite State Hockey League and served as its league commissioner. Ken is with us here today, right? Where are you, Ken? Kenny? Kenny will, from this day forward, always be addressed as the commissioner. In 1965, the Royals swept the Lakers in the semifinals 2-0 behind the goaltending of Joe Bellavance. In the first game of the finals against the Tams, or the Tam O'Shanters, the Royals lost 4-3 in double overtime, 6-4 in Game 2, and then lost 7-6 in the last game, despite 4 goals from George Marino, who is with us today. Is George here? Where is George? George, please stand. And the head coach at that time was Ron Peters, who is a former member of this Hall of Fame and is no longer with us. We'd like to acknowledge Ron. In 1966, the Royals bested the Concord Shamrocks 2-1 with a 5-4 overtime thriller, with Pete Maggio making 46 saves. In the finals, Nashua again faced off against the Tams from Manchester. In Game 1, the Royals broke a 3-3 deadlock with 4 straight goals, winning 7-3, despite 40 saves from Maggio. The Tams even the series 8-4, and another 39 saves from Maggio. Leading scorer Buzz Littell, another member of our Hockey Hall of Fame, broke a 4-4 tie in the third period as the Royals edged the Tams 5-4. Then in the next game, the Royals exploded to winning the Granite State Hockey League Championship by a score of 14-8. In 1967, after sweeping the Rye Bruins in the semifinals 2-0, the Royals were off the ice for more than 2 weeks before starting the finals, once again against the Tams. However, despite the layoff, in Game 1, the Royals surprised the Tams 8-5. In Game 2, Tams knocked off the Royals 10-8, and then in the third game, the Tams took the game 6-3 and the granted state title. As I mentioned, with us today is George Marino, and I'd like for George to come up and take a picture today, if he would. Thank you very much. Honoring you guys.
Invocation. Our invocation this afternoon will be offered by Reverend Raymond Ball, who is the pastor of Immaculate Heart of Mary Church here in Concord. Father Ball.
Good afternoon, fellow hockey players and hockey fans. I always enjoyed hockey. I felt it would be the closest way I would ever get to walking on water would be skating on ice. So. Anyway, well, let us pray. Hockey, like life, where it is far better when you assist, when you save, and when you have a goal, where accountability and justice is meted out in 2- and 5-minute intervals, when change isn't delayed, but happens on the fly, where individual sacrifices are celebrated, where team unity is more important than individual differences, where opposing teams are extended a handshake, where teammates become lifelong friends, and where miracles on ice can inspire a nation. We are grateful for the way that hockey has served as a force for good, inspiring effort, hard work, discipline, teamwork, sportsmanship, competitive drive, courage, perseverance, serving as a unifying presence for families, for schools, for towns, for cities, for churches, religious institutions, and for our state. As we honor those to be inducted into the Hall of Fame, we honor the way those qualities continue to be manifest off the ice as well. May the example of those we honor be passed forward. May it light the lamp in the heart of people throughout our state. We make this prayer in faith, hope, and love. Amen.
Please welcome our secretary, who will talk to you about our honorees who are here in the hall tonight. Please welcome Jim Rivers. Jim?
Great. Thank you, Bob. Good afternoon. We are delighted when we can get some of our more than 100 members of the Hall of Fame to come back and celebrate our new inductees with us each year. We have somewhere around 17 or 18 here today, so I'd like to introduce them and have them stand briefly. Well, one of the many great hockey players produced by the city of Berlin. He played for Charlie Hope at the University of New Hampshire. His post-college play was with the Concord Budmen. In fact, back in 1981, he helped the Budmen beat his hometown Berlin Maroons for the New England Hockey League title, so he probably wasn't very popular back in Berlin that winter. He's the current president of the New Hampshire Legends Executive Board and a member of the class of 2007, Johnny Norman. John? And another one of the prime recruiters for Coach Charlie Hope at UNH. He brought some terrific talent to the campus, like Jamie Hislop, Cap Rader, Bruce Crowder, Rod Langway, to name a few. He then moved to the broadcasting booth from New Hampshire Public Radio to New England Sports Network to ESPN. His familiar voice on the air became familiar to college fans all over the country, and he was a member of the class of 2009, my good friend, Bob Norton. A lot of long trips and a lot of cups of coffee in Canada, right, Bob? Another protege of Charlie Holt, following his career at UNH and a stint in the National Hockey League with the Penguins and the Bruins, he joined the coaching ranks as an assistant to Sean Walsh up at the University of Maine. He eventually took over as head coach at UMass Lowell, was named Hockey East Coach of the Year twice and NCAA Division I Coach of the Year in 1996. He also spent 2 years coaching in the Anaheim Ducks organization. Please welcome from the class of 2014, Bruce Crowder. And a former goalie for Charlie Holt at UNH. In fact, he once held the single-season record for saves with 808, and I believe that was broken by Cap Rader eventually. He's believed to be the only player in UNH hockey history to go from walk-on to the MVP of the team. And for the last 16 years, he has been the goalie coach at Phillips Exeter Academy, helping the team to the New England Championship back in 1999. Please welcome, from the class of 2014, Mark Evans. Our next Hall of Famer with us today played his college career skating for those hated Maine Black Bears, all you UNH fans here. In fact, he scored the Maine Black Bears' first ever goal in a Hockey East game against, of course, UNH. He's the all-time points leader at Canterbury Prep and led them to a Division I title. Following a professional career in Denmark, he has called the Granite State his home, and we're happy to have him back. A member of the executive board of the Legends, please welcome from the class of 2012, Peter Marr. Peter, that was a great class, I might add, 2012. Also, one of New Hampshire's most successful high school coaches. In 1999, he became the first New Hampshire coach to win 400 games. He once coached Peter Marr as a squirt, so he's up there in age. In his nearly 40 years of coaching at Exeter High, he has won numerous state titles. Please welcome another one from the class of 2012, Jimmy Tufts. Where are you, Jim? Our next guest coached and taught at Phillips Exeter Academy for more than 40 years. He has coached 14 players who were drafted by National Hockey League teams, and as head hockey coach, his teams won more than 600 games. Welcome back from the class of 2014, Bill Dennehy. Our next guest never had the problem in finding the back of the net. In fact, during his 4 years playing on his high school team, he led the scoring 3 times, a total of 216 points in his career. He played 4 years in college, led his team in scoring 3 times. He's a member of the Queen City Hall of Fame as well. From the class of 2006, Brian Stone. And our next guest played on 4 state championship teams for Berlin's Notre Dame High School. He played 14 consecutive years as a defenseman for the Berlin Maroons. He held backbone 2 New England titles and 2 senior amateur national titles. He's from the class of 2005. Welcome, Dickie Roy. Also, Dick, a very hardworking member of our Legends board as well. Another veteran of the Notre Dame High School. He played 2 stints for the Berlin Maroons and was the first team all-star selection in the national tournament. From 1968 to 1971, he scored more than 100 points. From the class of 2006, Roland Bird Levine. Our next Hall of Famer is a Minnesota hockey player who ended up at UNH when he was captain his senior year. He joined the Concord Eastern Olympics for 4 years back in the mid-'70s. Had the opportunity to watch him as a player for the Eastern Olympics. He refused to hang up his skates and has played in the 60 and over team that won 3 straight USA championships. I wonder how long ago that was. Ryan Brandt, class of 2011. One of the most colorful players to ever lace up for the Manchester Blackhawks. He also had stints with the Nashua Leafs, the Lowell Chiefs, the Tri-City Coachmen, and the Concord Budmen and the Manchester Monarchs. He got around, described as a goal scorer, an aggressive forward, and on defense, and always a needle in the neck of the opponents. They hated him, but they loved to have him as a teammate. From the class of 2009, Andre Prefontaine. And we have yet another member from the rinks of Berlin, where he played for Notre Dame High School. He went on to play at New Hampshire College, where he captained his team in his junior and senior years. He coached at Manchester Central, where his teams won more than 100 games. He went from the coaching ranks to officiating in 1971. Nothing worse than a former coach as an official, right? He spent 20 years as an official, working the Beanpot Tourney, the D2 National Championships, and various state high school championships. A great person, a great official. From 2007, Rene Leclerc. And now we have a gentleman who played in New Hampshire starting in 1965 with the Concord Shamrocks. And over 5 years of playing for the Concord Eastern Olympics, he scored 267 points in 200 games. He's fifth in the club's all-time scoring, most assists in a game, 6. In fact, I was at that game. From the class of 2014, where's Steve Murphy? Now, I'm always worried that we might forget someone that might have snuck in, but I think that is our group. We thank them for being here, and congratulations to those of you who will be joining us here in just a few minutes. Bob? Thank you.
Thanks very much, Jim. We're honored to have as our guest speaker tonight the Commissioner of Hockey East, Joe Britannia. You know, talk about careers in hockey. Joe Britannia's career started back playing at Arlington High School for the legendary coach Eddie Burns. Then he went on to play at Harvard College, a terrific goaltender. Over the course of his career, he's worn many hats. Presently, as I mentioned, he is the Commissioner of Hockey East. He's also been the executive director at times of the American Hockey Coaches Association. He's had more jobs in hockey than almost anybody else that I can think of. Not all paying jobs, some of them just volunteer jobs. But he's also been, over the course of the years, one of the foremost instructors of goaltending play in the country. I don't know how many goaltenders that are playing high school goal today and in the past that have been products of the Joe Britannia Hockey School. And I would like to welcome a terrific guy, the longtime Commissioner of Hockey East, probably amazed today that he's lasted as long as he has, Joe Britannia.
I've got too many friends in the room for flowery introductions. Too many people know too much. Thank you. I enjoy coming to these functions. I've been here a few times. I'm also, along with Dan and Steve, involved with the Mass Hockey Hall of Fame, so it's always interesting to see how other people do these things. I believe in honoring the past, not just to recognize those individuals and teams, but to set examples for people that follow. I think it's great that you honor teams as well as individuals. Bob mentioned I came from Arlington. It's one of the real blessings in my life to have grown up in a hockey town, and I can relate to the people from Berlin and from Melrose and from Medina and other great hockey towns in the country. And you can't pick that. You're blessed to be born there and to have a mentor like an Eddie Burns who coached 50 years with the high school team, and he established a program like the programs you've honored, where if you do look back in your life, you realize the first time you identified a tangible goal, something that you wanted to aspire to, it was to wear the uniform of your local high school team. For those of us who stayed in athletics as a career, it takes on even greater significance. I also know a number of the inductees, past and present. It's good to see another goalie get recognized, to get a nice warm meal and get off the streets, because you don't know what trouble goalies can get into when left to themselves. I also had a chance to get on the ice with Russ Bartlett. I knew Russ's name from when he played in college, but I don't know that he knew at 6:30 in the morning yesterday that he'd be playing goal in front of this 63-year-old slightly overweight veteran goaltender. But experience matters, because I made sure when I heard he was playing that he would be in front of me and defending the goal with me. So I had fun watching him play yesterday. And, I turned 64 Saturday. I'm a Halloween baby. And I'm not above reminding the guys in these locker rooms, these guys are 40 and 50, just to let them know how old I am. So when they score, it takes a little bit of the excitement away, yeah, nice goal. You just scored in a 64-year-old fat guy. Congratulations. Knock yourself out. My history with New Hampshire hockey goes back. My first loss as a Harvard goalie was a 4-3 overtime game at UNH. Captain Richard Umili. By the way, I understand they have a new video board at UNH. And I told Coach Umili I was reluctant to go there out of fear of walking in and seeing that face. It's bad enough you've got this, but seeing Umili's face filling that video board, cursing some Hockey East referee, and I know it's going to happen, so I have to go to some games, but I haven't gone yet. Guy Smith, who we used to call Guy Smith, scored in overtime, and given how many goals I've let up, I can still remember that particular goal in December of 1971 for our first loss. I had the privilege of playing at the very end of the New England League when there really were only 3 teams left. I played for the Framingham Picks, and there was Concord and Manchester. So each of us had a home night. So our home night was Sunday, I think Concord's was Saturday, and Manchester's was Friday. So every week you played the same 2 teams. So one week it was home against Concord at Manchester. The next week it was home against Manchester at Concord. And if you got into a fight the first week, you only had to wait 7 days to get back on the ice with the same people. So my life is, as Bob says, intertwined with hockey. I think I was told more than once when I was at Harvard that, you've got to have varied interests and be a Renaissance man and don't be a jock. You've got this great institution that you're lucky to be at, so make sure you go out into the world and you do great things in many fronts. So yesterday I got up at 6:30 and played hockey, spoke to 70 hockey coaches at a level 2 USA Hockey Clinic at 9, went to a football game at 1, came home and watched the hockey game, and then waited for my wife to get home from her hockey game. Woke up and spoke to 60 more coaches this morning, and here I am with a few hockey people. So that Renaissance man thing didn't quite work out the way we thought, but I'm still paying my bills and enjoying my life. Hockey East is a big enterprise. When I was hired 18 years ago, Bruce might have been coaching. I got the job, as I was told, because a number of coaches went to the athletic directors and said they wanted a hockey guy. We need a hockey guy, we need a full-time hockey guy. If I resigned tomorrow, in all likelihood, I would not be replaced by a hockey guy. It would be a branding guy, a marketing guy, a visionary. I get accused sometimes of just being a manager, that I manage things, but I don't have vision. I know sometimes when I'm playing goal, I don't have vision, but I don't think that's what they're talking about. I've learned to be a marketing guy and a branding guy, but I didn't get into the game for that reason. A lot of us that are older here in the room, we remember what hockey night for us was like. Now, I played at Harvard, had a rink called Watson Rink. It was basically a cinder block rink with bleachers. And much like Dartmouth, you'd get dressed in one building and you'd carry your bag over to the rink and you put your skates on in a small room. You go out and play the game. You're walking out with the fans and your parents and you're talking to them. There was no snack bar. There was no video board. In fact, our manager, this is true story, he would make hot chocolate taking the hot water hose from the Zamboni area, filling some sort of container with powdered chocolate, and use a broken stick to stir it. So and these are wooden sticks back then, so I can only imagine the amount of fiber these people were getting from the hot chocolate. A little bit of Northland Pro with your hot chocolate. Now in our league, you can go to a Guinness Arena and get have a glass of white wine and sit in your movie theater seat and munch on some sweet potato fries and watch the replay. And to this day, I've never seen a film of me giving up a goal, and I had enough confidence issues. If I had to look up and possibly see it again, or actually maybe see it for the first time, since I didn't see it when it happened, I'm not sure what kind of career I would have had. But So we're in that business now where it's about selling tickets and getting games on television and creating special events. And a lot of this has been fun. And a lot of it has been consistent with an education mission. We're bringing a tournament over to Belfast, Northern Ireland next month. I just got back from my first trip to Ireland to check out the facility. There's a rink that has a pro team. In fact, we saw the Belfast Giants play, and the one goal they got was scored by Mike Raja, who played at UNH. And we're going to bring Northeastern and Lowell from our league, and Brown and Colgate from the ECAC, and they're going to spend Thanksgiving week over there. They're going to visit schools. They're going to learn about the history of that region. One of the things that's attractive about hockey there is that there's no history to hockey. People don't come in wearing their colors from one side or the other. They all come in wearing the Belfast Giants colors. So they see hockey as something that brings people together in an area that has had plenty that's kept them apart. When we can do things like that, spread our brand, but also provide an educational experience for the players, then I think that's a win-win, and that's what we should be doing. Sometimes, though, I was talking to Bob about some of the things that college hockey has become are troublesome a little bit. We are committing to 15-year-olds, and I was at a game the other night that the backup goalie was a 2003 birthday, and he was a freshman. So I did the math, and I'm a history major, but he's a 22-year-old freshman, or he's going to turn 22 in February. Many of us graduated when we were 21, I think. The age difference is a little disconcerting when we are putting out the occasional true freshman who's 18 who's playing against a 25-year-old. I'm not sure that's healthy. I'm not sure making commitments to 15-year-olds is healthy. By the way, looking at the birth dates on these things, I know there's those of you that are still involved with youth hockey, there's a whole language. Like I'll see a friend of mine I haven't seen in years and say, "You got 2 boys, right? How old are your boys?" And they'll say, "I got an 02 and an 03. Really? I got to do the math? I just want to know how old your kids are, So I tell people that I'm a 51 with all kinds of eligibility left. So the experience that we had in the old Watson Rink versus the new Aganis Arena at BU, it's different. And Hockey East is about to go through they call a strategic plan. This is part of me figuring out how to be a visionary. And we're going to see if we are living up to our educational model. They have a mission statement that says academic excellence, competitive excellence, leader in the country. I think the competitive excellence can't be questioned. We continually put out champions and national champions. And last year was a great thrill for us involved with the league, who hosted the Frozen Four in Boston, to see 2 Hockey East teams play in the final. And also to see a different school that hadn't won it before, to show some of our depth. But the thing about the education mission, are we staying true to that? And sometimes I think we're in showbiz. You go to a game now, and I still cringe a little bit when the starting lineups go up. They have the big video board, and Joe Smith, and he turns and faces the camera, and he's got the scowl on his face and his stick, and I'm thinking, really, let's just drop the puck and play the game. This isn't Hollywood. And we had a discussion at our recent meeting about a policy we have in place for these big video boards, because when you go to games, you can't take your eyes off it, and people want to see themselves and all that. And we used to have a policy that said you couldn't put any image on the video board that would embarrass somebody or incite the crowd. And a representative from Notre Dame said, well, that's not really fair to our fans. If they stay home and watch a game on TV, they see all these things, and yet you come to the games and you're not letting them see everything. And I remember a few years ago, a famous coach in our league, who shall remain nameless, and he's not in the room, was shown doing this at a referee. And Nesson thought that was the funniest thing in the world. And every time they'd break for a commercial, they'd have a freeze frame of this coach doing that. And so I said to my Notre Dame friend, I said, the people who are watching things at home are looking at images that a TV producer, an entertainer, is choosing to put on TV because it's entertainment. When we go to our games, we're not that TV guy. We don't have the same standard, at least I hope we don't. And if we find something offensive, we shouldn't put it up there. And I didn't feel like a room full of support. I started to think, maybe we are in the entertainment business. Maybe we've crossed that line. And the Notre Dame proposal passed. That Any play can be shown at least once. So I go back to probably 15 years ago. Sean Walsh is up in Maine, and I went up to visit. I go around to visit all the teams. And at that particular time, I think there were a few games where the players were a little bit too chirpy with the refs or whatever, and I wanted to talk to the team about it. So Sean introduces me to the team, and he says, yeah, the commissioner's here. You know, he's concerned about our image with the refs, because you know, guys, we're in the entertainment business, and we got to sell this a lot better. So I didn't say anything. Saw the game. He had another great team. And I wrote to him on Monday. I said, nice to see you. You got a great team there. Just a comment about your, I think we're in the education business, and we have a need and an interest to be entertaining. But that's different than being in the entertainment business. And he said, oh, picky, Well, that's 15 years ago. Now I stand here as a card-carrying member of college hockey and Hockey East, and I'm not so sure Sean wasn't right then or would be right today. And I don't say that with any sense of pride, but I think we're blurring the lines between being educators and entertainers. Certainly when you go to a game on game night, it seems like it's showbiz. And I'm going to have at least one more opportunity in this strategic plan over the next few months to at least force the people that I work for, the athletic directors, to rethink some of the things we're doing in pursuit of that athletic excellence, of making commitments to ninth graders, of not honoring scholarships when there's a coaching change at a school, at fielding teams that have 26-year-old, 25-year-old seniors playing against 18-year-old freshmen. Are all these things consistent with education? I may get that same cold chill in the room when these things are raised, but I think it's my responsibility to raise them and their responsibility to make decisions. So we all want to win. We're all investing money in beautiful state-of-the-art buildings. We're paying our coaches a lot of money now. I'm hoping that it's not, we haven't gone too far to step and right the ship in some of the areas that we really might want to do things a little like we did when the dinosaurs, like a few of us were playing. So having gotten on that soapbox and getting a little too preachy, I think I'll reel it back in a little. Thank Jim and the board for the invitation. Congratulate the inductees, present and past. And thank you for your attention. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Joe. Some of you may or may not be aware, with us today is the UNH club hockey team and its head coach, Steve McIsaac of Hampton. Joining Steve is four of the national championship team members, as well as two assistant coaches and general manager. They have Jeremy Braley, who's the general manager from Seabrook, Zach Bradnick, assistant captain from Salem, Dylan Palmer, the goalie from Northampton, Sean Leahy, the captain from Durham, and Blake Cardali, the assistant captain from Brunswick, Maine. 2013-14 overall record, it was 27-7 in the semifinals of the Division II National Championship. They shut out the University of Maryland Baltimore 4-0. Then in the title game, they defeated Florida Gulf Coast University 5-3 to win the national championship. In this level of club hockey teams, there are 185 teams competing. The team has been recognized at UNH since the 2003-04 season and has competed in the national tournament 4 times consecutively from 2010-11 to last year. They finished 11th, 15th, 8th, and then 1st. The national tournament has the top 16 teams in the country and is set up similar to the Olympic pool. And the ACHA follows the same rule book as the NCAA with a few minor changes. The New Hampshire Legends this year would like to present a commemorative Bauer Silver Stick to the national championship team. And at this time, I'd like to ask John Norman, the president of the Legends, to present the Bauer Silver Stick from the Legends to Coach McIsaac and his team members who are with us today. Guys, please come forward.
Incidentally, there's a young gentleman on this team who was a goaltender for me when I was coach at Winnicott. And Dylan Palmer apparently stood on his head in this tournament, helping these guys win, as he did time and time again when I coached him at Winnacunnet. So just wanted to congratulate Dylan. Coach, thank you very much. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations, guys. Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you. While they're going back to their seats, I'll tell you a quick story. Last year, Coach Emilli lost his goaltender at the beginning of the year. To show you how far club hockey's come. And I said to Coach Emilli on the phone, I said, well, why don't you go to the club hockey and see if you can get the goalie for the club hockey team, at least to be a backup for you. He said, I already asked. He doesn't want to play. He's afraid he'll lose his spot in the club hockey team. So congratulations, guys. That's a true story. To announce our 2016-17 honoree team, John Norman. John. Let's hope we're all here in 2016-17.
In 2016, the Legends have selected a school that has both men's and women's teams. The men's team started their varsity program back in 1969 and won more than 500 games since that season. Currently, the school has 2 individuals who have been inducted into our Hall of Fame. The first was enshrined in 2004 and the second in 2012. Although a D2 school, the men's team currently competes during the regular season in the ECAC East Conference of Division III, as does the women's team. Once playoffs begin, the men's team competes in the Northeast 10 Conference against Assumption, Franklin Pierce, St. Michael's, Stonehill, and Southern New Hampshire. In 2010, Coleman Noonan was selected as the Joe Concannon Award recipient, which goes to New England's best American-born Division II hockey player. Lastly, in 2013, a young player by the name of Tucker Mullen, a 2-time captain, was selected as the recipient of the Bank of New York Mellon Wealth Management Hockey Humanitarian Award. Well, there's a mouthful. 2 athletes total nationwide, which includes all divisions, received this award, 1 male and 1 female. This award is given annually to college hockey's finest citizen who seeks to recognize collegiate players who've given back to their communities in the true humanitarian spirit. He co-founded the Thomas E. Smith Fight to Cure Paralysis Foundation, a nonprofit that benefits emotionally and financially those afflicted and living with paralysis. This award seeks not to celebrate Hall of Fame athletes, but rather Hall of Fame human beings. And I think it speaks volumes for what this program and this institution stand for. Since 2004, the women's program has amassed an impressive, successful history, winning the Northeast 10 regular season title 8 times and overall title 7 times. Meanwhile, the women's team has won more than 200 games in just 11 seasons, with an amazing 7 20-win seasons, 6 championships in the ECAC Open Division in 9 games. 6 out of 9 isn't too shabby. The Legends are proud to honor and recognize the St. Anselm's College men's and women's hockey program during 2016. Today, we have 4 representatives from St. Anselm's that I would like to invite up to the stage. Neil Duval, Ed Cini, Neil is the Assistant Athletic Director. Ed Cini is the current men's hockey coach. Karen Pilch is the assistant women's coach, and Tom Bullock, who is a longtime Hawk supporter. We'd like you to come up and take some photos on stage. By the way, those two members that I mentioned who were Hall of Famers, one is Hubie McDonough and the other is Kathleen Twomey. And I'd also like to extend our best wishes to Hubie, who recently, wish him a speedy recovery, who recently suffered a stroke. So hopefully we wish Hubie a speedy recovery and full recovery very soon. So if I could get those folks to come up to the podium.
Our first inductee into the class of 2015 is Russell Bartlett of Windham, New Hampshire, the all-time leading scorer at Phillips Exeter Academy, who went on to be an outstanding college hockey player at Boston University in St. Lawrence. One of the greatest players in the history of Phillips Exeter. Finished his career with 102 goals and 173 assists, 275 career points. He later went on to an outstanding first 2 years at Boston University before transferring to St. Lawrence. He scored 2 seasons at BU, 20 goals and 51 points. Beat Boston College with an overtime goal in the Beanpot. Went on to play for Joey Marsh at St. Lawrence, led St. Lawrence to an ECAC title and a position in the NCAA tournament with 22 goals and 65 career points. Bartlett finished his college career with 42 goals, 116 assists in 144 career games. He was later an 8th-round draft pick of the Toronto Maple Leafs, played a number of years of professional hockey, and he's a welcome honoree to the class of 2015. Please welcome Russell Bartlett of Exeter.
So before I get started, I'd like to know, I'm going to tell you a few things about me. I don't love public speaking. I don't feel comfortable talking about myself. And I can't tell a funny story to save my life. So other than that, this should go just great. So I think I'd rather talk about some life lessons that I've learned while playing hockey. It all starts with family, whose sacrifice and support meant an awful lot to any success I might have had. The early mornings, the expensive tournaments and buying new equipment, or just the time spent traveling while I was on the ice or traveling on to and from games and practices. My parents not only supported my passion, but they also loved the game and made many lifetime friendships as well. What an incredible sacrifice and commitment from every member of my family. I just hope it was worth it. I know I definitely do. Two of the biggest lessons I learned from the game were preparation and accountability. Between Coach Barban making us do push-ups and sit-ups before every practicing game, or telling us to do something, anything, to get better each and every day. Don't go through the day without doing something to get better, he'd say. Or Coach Dennehy, making sure that we knew that the name on the front of the sweater meant a whole lot more than the name on the back. And just in case you ever forgot that, he was always there to lend a helping hand. And lastly, how to deal with both successes and failures, knowing you're never as good as your best game, but conversely, not as bad as your worst. This is a crucial skill you can learn while playing team sports, in hockey and after. I will never forget the memories and the lessons and the relationships I made in and around hockey. They will always be a big part of my life. Thank you very much for this honor.
Our next honoree, James D. Houston, is also from Exeter. Had an unusual background to be honored by a New Hampshire Legends of Hockey Hall of Fame. He's a baseball and football standout in college, a native of Bronxville, New York. But when you talk New Hampshire and you talk great youth hockey programs, you're talking Concord and Manchester and Hanover, and you're talking Exeter. And Jim Houston was the founder of the Exeter Youth Hockey Program in 1961, where he developed a successful House League program and all-star competition. And that program still exists today. He helped to develop Exeter High School's first club team in 1967 and 68. And that club team has gone on to be Exeter High School, one of the distinguished high school programs in our state. He raised funds for the Exeter High School program and over the course of his life for Exeter Youth Hockey. He lives on at Phillips Exeter Academy in the Houston Tournament. The Houston Tournament was each year conducted for youth hockey teams in the New England area. It has evolved and become one of the top prep school tournaments in New England. To the class of 2015, his award will be received by his son, Denny. Please recognize, from Exeter, James Houston.
I want to thank the Hall to start with for recognizing my father, but not just Dad, everybody that's really in the builder category. It's something I think that's largely overlooked in a lot of day-to-day lives and all the hard work that people put into behind the scenes getting things done. I'd like to first of all thank Jim Hayes also for pulling this off today. It's a lot of work. I know what he put into this. Ton of work. I'd like to especially thank Peter Marr, for doing the legwork, get my father put in. You know, it's funny, my father died when I was young, and you never had a chance to do a eulogy, so that's kind of what this feels like. I'd like to acknowledge some of the other men who supported the growth of youth hockey in the Exeter era at the time, specifically George Crow, inductee 2004, Burt MacArthur, Carly Toll, Arthur Tufts, Fuzzy Sarson, and Bob Hall. I'm sure there's others. I wouldn't offend anybody, but those are the few I remember and I wanted to mention. Trying to say a few things about my father. I think it's important to understand the man. There are 5 things about my father that were consistent day in and day out. He wore a blue shirt. I had to look for this. He wore a tie. He wore a fedora. He always had a handshake and a smile for everybody he met. And you can tell from the picture in the program of my sister on the ice, he wore his hat and his tie when he played hockey. It was an early version of headgear and neck guards, but that was about it. Like many young men of his generation, he grew up in Bronxville, New York, and he raised Cain, and I know he did because I met some of his friends out in Cali after years down the road. He went to school, played ball together, but his generation also faced World War II together. And I know this changed his life forever. He was part of Edson's legendary Marine Raiders, excuse me, that defended Guadalcanal and Henderson Airfield in 1942. I did this pretty good before I had to stand up there and do it. He remained with this group till the end of the war in the Philippines. But the thing that's important to me is that no one through this is that he never really talked a lot about it, but I know it formed a lot of his thoughts about contributing to society and trying to make it a better place to live. After the war, as Bob said, he took advantage of the GI Bill, went to Nichols, and became inducted in the Hall of Fame for baseball, football. And after school, he went to work for W.T. Grant, went around opening stores throughout New England, eventually finding his way to Exeter, where he took over the curtain shop from my grandfather. And throughout all of this, though, I remember him always being involved in the community. And it was every town we lived in. And he spent a lot of time in Exeter, obviously helping to build a strong community and trying to develop opportunity for everyone. And I can't go into all the things that he did for the local youth, but he spent quite a bit of time there. Like any family, we had a routine. This included seeing Dad for dinner every night. In the summer, probably a quick catch We're out painting our house. If any of you lived in a New Englander, you know, part of that New Englander need to be painted every year. We did that religiously. In the winter, shooting pucks, skating, shoveling snow, American Bandstand, Ed Sullivan, which was really bad. Like most retailers, he went to work every day, almost every night. He was either at a chamber, charity, or planning meeting. In the early years, later to serve as a selectman and help drive the education and business community of Exeter forward and not let the town stand still. It was a very selfless commitment to the community that I remember. Family, friends, and I think it was not about him. It was about the greater good. Hockey got on his radar because his oldest child, me, fell in love with the game, skating on Collicutt's Pond, Waterworks, Exeter River, the natural ice rink at Phillips Exeter, and all the other unsafe places that you go. It's a far cry from today's program, bringing the kids to scheduled skates all the time. My first Pee Wee game was played on White's Pond in Concord, so I'll never forget that. I realize now that he and the group that he worked with had developed a pretty thorough plan of what was needed to get hockey to move forward in Exeter. And he knew that in order to do that, he had to develop a relationship with PEA, Phillips Exeter Academy, and did that. And that it would need to have a high school team and a strong youth organization that would support the high school team for the years to come. And they really continued, they worked for quite a few years to put this plan together. They guided, Dad and the other gentleman I mentioned, guided the program through the first group of youth level, state and everything, and got it put in a fairly good place. And in the 70s and 80s, they developed what I thought was an extremely productive house league program, which really developed some great talent for the state. In doing some of the research, one of the funniest things I was told was by Burt MacArthur. Burt was the principal of Exeter High School, and at the time he had come up from Amesbury, Mass. He also lived right across the street from us, so we spent a lot of conversations, a lot that I probably didn't know went on. And Burt started talking about how Amesbury raised the money privately to get the high school team put in place. And a week later, Burt said the checks started coming in to his desk one after the other. And for 3 months, the checks continued to come. And Burt finally convinced the superintendent school to get the Exeter High School team put on the next public ballot, and it went as a warrant article. So unlike most of the high school teams in this state, Exeter can't cut the high school program unless it's voted on. So it's a pretty good deal for the Exeter High School coaches. The rest is history. Nice part of Exeter hockey. I'm sorry, excuse me. My father was able to see the first 3 years of high school hockey played prior to his passing in 1970. After his untimely death at the age of 45, George Crow and a group of friends started the Jim Houston tournament that continues today. It funds 2 scholarships annually. I think he would have been very excited to see where hockey is today. Proud that his sons played, continue to play. I call it exercise now. He probably would also have been surprised to see that his 3 granddaughters also played and have a passion for hockey, and that his grandson played and went to attend at Phillips Exeter Academy. I'd like to thank you for our family for inducting Dad. We appreciate it. And say a prayer for the Bruins this season. And go Pats.
Our next honoree from Salem, New Hampshire, originally from East Boston, Massachusetts, is Ron DiGregorio, and no one's accomplishments in hockey are more continual and through all levels than Ron's. He was a high school hockey player at Boston Latin, later went on to be a goaltender at Middlebury College. But you know, you find your success in hockey, as Ron did, through starting at the lowest levels of youth hockey and working up to the highest levels of USA Hockey. His first appointment in USA Hockey came in 1973 for the New England District. He was first elected to the U.S. Hockey Board of Directors in 1973, and in the 80s he was treasurer of USA Hockey. Leader of the 1994 U.S. Olympic hockey team that competed in Lillehammer. Also involved in a number of World Games as an administrator. He was elected president of USA Hockey in June of 2003 and unanimously elected to his 4th term in 2012, stepping down this past June. He was one of the architects of USA Hockey's National Team Development Program, a 2-year residency program for the top 16 and 17-year-old players in the United States. But he's most famous in New England because he founded Mini One-on-One. Please welcome our honoree from Mini One-on-One, a great USA Hockey person, Ron DiGregorio, the former Middlebury goalie.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. It's great to be here. Quite an honor. First of all, I want to thank the selectors for this induction and recognition. It's quite an honor to be with this great group that I'd like to congratulate the other 6 winners of this great prestigious award. You know, we all need support and motivation in our lives. My motivation has come from 2 sets of families. My real family and my hockey family. So first of all, I'd like to introduce my real family to you all and give them some recognition, because what I have as recognition belongs there. My wife, Susan. My wife and my daughter, Kim, with her son, Gino, baby Gino, and Felice, her husband. My son, Mark, and next to Mark is my daughter, Kara. And then at this table, we've got Eric, my oldest son, with Debbie, and my 3 other grandchildren that are here, Matthew, Nathan, and Megan, along with my brother, Dan. And we're missing 1 grandchild who's only 6 weeks old, actually 5.5 weeks old, right, Kim? 5.5 weeks old. So Noah is there with his other grandmother and being taken care of. I've been very, very fortunate to have that support, but I've also been very, very fortunate to be involved with hockey from the grassroots, as Bob said, all the way up to the international games, because of the people who are part of the family of hockey. Earlier, Mark and I were sharing some thoughts about the group, and he said, boy, everyone likes to get to talk to each other, and it's a real family affair. And it truly is. We have common goals. We are working for the potential that's in front of us with our children and allowing that potential to be all it can be. It may not make the NHL, but that's not the goal. The goal is to develop all of us to be all we can be. So I'm very proud of the American development model that uses long-term athletic principles that we are fostering with USA Hockey. And the future is bright. The future is bright here in New Hampshire and throughout the United States because of people like you, committed and able. And as long as USA Hockey continues to support your efforts, I think the future will be fine. So thank you for this recognition. There's a lot to like about New Hampshire hockey. Thank you.
Thanks, Ron. Thanks for all you do for amateur hockey in the United States. Our next honoree is one of many who have been honored from the city of Concord. Paul Colgan's dad built the Sacred Heart rink in Concord, in which the great Sacred Heart team played. Played 15 years for Sacred Heart, a career interrupted by service in World War II. Between 1931 and 1942, he was the team's leader in goals, 73, assists 34, and points, 107. Served in the Pacific Theater during World War II, and after World War II in 45 and 46, was named again captain of the Sacred Heart team, an honor which he held until his retirement in 1949. In 156 career games, he scored 136 career points. His legacy as one of the founders of hockey in the state of New Hampshire, and certainly one of the founders of hockey in the city of Concord, is well established. His daughter Paula will accept this Hall of Fame award for 2015 honoree Paul Colgan.
have you do this. I need my sister here, just in case my knees shake too much and I need someone to take over for me, even though I think this would be a disaster, too. Oh, boy. Thank you. I just want to thank everybody for being here, and this is just such a wonderful opportunity. And my sister and I would first like to extend our gratitude to the Legends of Hockey Board of Directors for nominating our dad, Paul Colgan, to the Legends of Hockey Hall of Fame. This honor would not be possible had it not been for our father's brother and our uncle, Bernard Colgan, who painstakingly researched all of this information and hours of looking at microfiche, making reams and reams of copies of stories and statistics, I knew I'd mess up that word, about the Sacred Heart hockey team. So if it's okay, we would like to ask our uncle to please stand and be recognized, because you're the best. All of the work. And then all of this information was passed along to Kirk Gillies, my fiance, who organized all of this data and wrote a compelling narrative highlighting Paul's hockey career from the very beginning of the Sacre-Cœur team as a player, then to captain, and finally coach and manager until the team's last game in 1952. We just wanted Kurt to stand too and be recognized for all your work. Thank you. There are other people. There's just my cousin Carolyn Colgan, JJ, Joni, our late Uncle Pike, and Uncle Tommy Champagne. Everybody had a great involvement in this, and everybody had to look through just, ancient artifacts to find all of this information. So I just want to thank you all. Paul's love of hockey stayed with him even in his honeymoon in New York City in 1952, when some of his teammates showed up and surprised our parents with an unexpected visit. Heard about that one. What wasn't to love about guys with nicknames like Red, Addy, Buck, Tootie, Ziz, Minnow, I'd love to have met Minnow, Bolt, Dookie, and Tarzan. Tarzan I actually thought was the real deal from Hollywood growing up. These men and many more would continue their friendship with each other for the rest of their lives. They did have a meeting place in Concord. I don't know if any of you are familiar with it was our Uncle Joe King's shoe store when it was on Warren Street. There was an upstairs level, and they would all get together there on a weekly basis and discuss the whole events of sports and, just what was going to happen and opinions. And, I mean, they were everybody's coach at that point. Anyway, my sister Elizabeth and I never got to see our father play hockey. However, White's Park Pond was where all the magic and entertainment would take place. Elizabeth and I, of course, had to wear our pale blue skates with gray fur trim. Dare I say they were figure skates, but that's what all was allowed back then. And my dad would always skate around in his kangaroo hide hockey skates, the same skates he wore when he was a player for Sacred Heart. Anyway, the four of us would go. My mother would be in her little white figure skates, and off we'd all go. We'd start out as a group of four, and eventually, like 10 seconds later, there would be a group of three, because our father would be flying off, darting around all the other skaters. His smile would only get bigger as he would lap us, going backwards and still darting in and around all of the slower skaters. Some tried, but no one could keep up with him. He really loved to just skate. And I've heard this from Tommy Champagne, too, that there was none faster than Paulie on the ice, as he was called. Paul would be 102 years old today if he had been, and he would have been very humbled to receive this wonderful award, and we are equally humbled to receive it on his behalf. We would like to extend our congratulations to the other inductees here today in today's ceremony. Time flies, but good memories never fade. Thank you all very much.
I'm sweating like a bullet.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We're going to keep these. Congratulations. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, we're going to keep these.
Our next inductee, Ryan Weston of the only Henniker on earth. When Ryan played his games at, excuse me, BU, that's the way I would describe him. He comes from Henniker, New Hampshire, the only Henniker on earth. He was a terrific player at Boston University. Went to a high school at John Stark that didn't have a hockey program. Developed through the youth hockey program and transferred to Tilton School, where he played for 3 years for Mike Walsh. Terrific player for the Rams. He's a member of the Tilton School Hall of Fame. Went on to play for the New England Junior Coyotes in the Eastern Junior Hockey League, and whereupon he took his talents to Boston University. Boston University was a Beanpot Championship team and an NCAA qualifying team during his time there. Ryan was an extremely valuable member of those BU teams. He was what's best known as a grinder and a defensive stalwart. Just a terrific all-around hockey player, the likes of which teams are not successful without. He was a terrific player at Tilton School and a terrific player at Boston University. Please welcome to the class of 2015 Hall of Fame from the only Henniker on earth, Tilton School, Ryan Weston.
Before I get started here, I think I want to ask a question that's on everyone's mind. Nordy, are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Oh my God. Double gainer with a twist. I think the Swedish judge gave him a 9.5 for skipping the landing. And the other thing is, this actually looks like a hockey gathering now. Look at this place. I mean, it looks like we dropped the gloves and got after it up here.
I'm fine.
And Nordy, thanks again, because I got a little local celebrity for the line you always say. And Ryan Weston, he just got on and off the ice for about 30 seconds, but he's from New Hampshire, Henniker, the only Henniker on earth. So I appreciate that. I appreciate it. Before I get started, I do want to say, Mom, I know I'm wearing a hat right now, and the reason why I'm wearing the hat is because I've moved to California, and this hat, I know where I came from. I know I'm a New Hampshire guy, and I am so humbled and grateful to be inducted to this Hall of Fame. I had no idea the deep tradition of hockey in New Hampshire. And so I think by wearing this hat, it says, hey, I'm a West Coast dude now, but I love New Hampshire. It's where all my friends and family and where I came from. It's a blue-collar state, and I love it. The next, I have some thank yous that I just got to point out and maybe tie a story on the backside when we talk about these folks. But for starters, the New Hampshire Hall of Fame, the legends, I appreciate this. This is a great honor, and congratulations to my fellow inductees. This is something I never would have thought I would have gotten a chance to do when I started playing hockey. So the next folks I want to thank is Tilton, Peter, Coach H. Tilton was a launch pad for me, no doubt. I learned a lot there, and I can't thank you guys enough for helping put this on, and also for taking such good care of me over the years and staying in contact. I really appreciate you guys coming down, and go Rams. All right. The next person is my father. Dad, I'd like you to put your Henniker hockey jacket on and stand up for a second, because I think it's just going to let you know like my dad's a beauty. I came. That's and the real special thing about my dad. My dad worked 3 jobs and was the blue collar guy, and he made it happen for me. He got me to the games I needed to get to. I pulled him out of work last second to go to Toronto for games, and I couldn't have done it without you. And you gave me a hell of a game, Dad. I really appreciate that. And the other thing, Dad, is that you never forced anything on me. You know, you let me unfold as a player, and you understood that I loved hockey, and you got me there. And if we needed to get more money to play, you made it happen. So I appreciate that with all my heart. The next person is my mom. I'd like to, Mom, I think that you always kept me honest. And you know, when I did something wrong, we talked through it, and I realized that if I wasn't owning up to the fact that I was wrong, then I was heading down a wrong path. So I appreciate you and love you for everything you've ever given me and continue to give me. The next person is Coach Walsh, Mike Walsh. Your love for the game is infectious, and I think that what I really learned from you is that hockey players at our core are well-rounded people. We're good people, and win, lose, or draw, we go out there, we give it our all, but at the end of the day, we look at each other in the face and respect each other. And I wasn't just a hockey player playing for you, and I learned that. And if you think you're just a hockey player, then you're heading down a wrong path, and I think you kept me well-rounded, and I appreciate that. The next person I'd like to recognize is his son, Riley. Riley is like a younger brother or another younger brother to me, and I've watched this kid. I think he's the best player, best 99 player in the country, Joe. I think he is great, and I think he's going to be up on the stage one day, and I think he's going to do everyone in this state really proud. But the one thing I want him to remember is you have all the gifts, you have all the talent, you have the size. Can you be a team player? Can you be selfless in the way that you are a teammate? If you can do that, you will go to a higher level than I've ever dreamed of. And I believe in you, but I want to challenge you. I want to challenge you to play like Westy did. Play for the guy next to you, right? Find a reason to like that guy. Find a reason to play for that guy. So good luck. I'm watching. I am. We all watching now. All New Hampshire knows about you now. Okay? The last person is my fiance, who's not here. She's looking after my dog, our family in Orange County now. Been moving around quite a bit. And Tyler was the only person in my life to come and see me play in Vegas, come and see me play in San Antonio, come and see me play in Albany. And I was trying to make it, and she never said, stop playing on my account. She said, keep going, keep going, keep going, until it just didn't make any sense anymore. And I appreciate that, and I love her dearly for it, and she makes me better every single day. The last thing I'd say is I feel like I got an NHL wife-to-be playing in a 4-letter league in the ECHL. Thanks very much. I appreciate it.
We'll take a picture. Why don't we recognize the coach at Proctor Academy? He's here, Mike Walsh. Please stand. Where's Mike? Mike Walsh. One of the great prep school coaches in New Hampshire. Our next inductee has been here before, and deservedly so. He's a native of Portsmouth, New Hampshire, and Taylor Chase is an inspirational story. Native of Hampton Falls, actually. He was playing for the New Hampshire Junior Monarchs in an Eastern Junior League game when in 2002 in October, he was badly injured on the ice, collapsed, was unable to feel himself from the waist down. But he moved on and developed into another kind of hockey player, a sled hockey player. And what an inspiration he has been for hockey players nationwide. He's played a big role in the U.S. national team success, part of the bronze medal winning team at the Paralympic Games in Torino in 2006 and 2010. He reached the pinnacle of the support, captaining the U.S. team that won the gold medal at the Paralympic Games in Vancouver. Named the tournament's top defenseman and the Paralympics Sportsman of the Year. in 2010. He became the first American, he helped Americans be the first team to win back-to-back gold medals in sled hockey at the Paralympics, beating Russia 4-1 in the gold medal game in Sochi. He's a terrific guy, an inspirational story. Please welcome Taylor Chase.
Thanks, Bob. You need to get you a sled, or? Yeah. All right. All right.
These young punks are white
Always something, right? Thank you, everyone, for being here today. I want to thank the New Hampshire Legends Hockey Hall of Fame. John, I want to thank you and everyone who nominated me, voted me in. It's a surprise. I think everybody that's played hockey, everyone in the room, everyone that's been nominated today, you just did it because you loved it, and you were a part of it because you love to be a part of the game, and it's something that you always hold a high value to in your life, and it gives way more back than you can ever give it. So thanks to hockey. It's such an honor to be inducted. I loved playing hockey, and I loved playing hockey in New Hampshire. I learned how to skate, I learned how to play, and I learned how to compete in this state. One of my first memories as a competitive hockey player is playing at Phillips Exeter Academy. It's where I learned to skate. And for those of you who've played there at a young age, even at an older age, it would take 3 coaches just to lift you over those benches sometimes to get up on there. And one thing I remember about playing is organized hockey. I remember the first time we played, and they had these guys in these white and black uniforms on the ice, and I'm like, why are these guys always getting in the way of our game? And they're like, the referees, they're gonna manage the game. And I'm like, well, this is brutal. This is brutal. I don't want to play anymore. But I specifically remember having referees on the ice for some reason, how different it was. But things like that when you're growing up, as you progress as a hockey player. So I'm humbled to be a part of the hockey tradition in New Hampshire. Ironically, I was injured playing hockey 13 years ago this month. Sometimes it feels like yesterday, for sure. My coaches, Sean Tremblay and Chris Grassi, who were with me at that time, with me on that life-changing day in Cannington, Ontario, they're here today. And I just want to say thanks to you guys specifically. I've had a lot of coaches growing up before and after I played with the Monarchs, but I can honestly say that you guys have influenced me more on and off the ice than anyone that I can think of, aside from my family. You taught me how to be a professional, how to work at your skills tirelessly, and always, always be ready to play. So I thank you for that. Tom Moulton, who in 2004 encouraged me to stick with sled hockey because I really could experience true competition, is here today. Thank you, Tom. Coach Tremblay traveled to Italy to support my debut on the United States Paralympic sled hockey team in 2006. Jill Gravink, director of Northeast Passage, the program that got me started in sled hockey, was here today. Jill, her amazing staff, and my University of New Hampshire sled hockey coach, Tom Carr, who's also had a profound impact on my life and my family's life, traveled to Vancouver to support Team USA's gold medal performance in 2010. My family, who is here today, traveled the world for 10 years in support of me and the United States team. And obviously it all starts with family, and my 2 parents are the most selfless people. If anyone knows them, they're the most selfless people you could ever meet. And you can't pick your family, and I sure lucked out with those 2. I just want to say a couple things about my dad and my mom, and the things that they've instilled in me is always being consistent with your work ethic, commitment and sacrifice to something that you love, no matter what people think. And just how to be a team player. And this is what hockey's all about. Our world is small and close-knit, but we have each other's backs, and we have each other's backs. Like I said, most of us played and support each other for the love of the game. This became clear to me as I worked tirelessly to compete in sled hockey at the highest level with some of the most accomplished young athletes you could ever hope to meet. Athletes whose lives had come from the lowest of lows. Athletes who had experienced injuries, amputations, or chronic illnesses which changed their lives and the lives of their families. What brought us all back to life? Hockey. Being part of a team, being part of something greater than ourselves, working together toward a common goal. And let's face it, there's nothing sweeter than working as a team toward a common goal and having that hard work pay off. This is what life is all about. If there is one thing I can share with you about my experience as a Paralympic athlete, is that your mind can be stronger than your body. On October 6, 2002, I was honestly afraid that the sport that had shaped my life had suddenly turned its back on me. That is the moment the game became more than just physical. Mentally, you have to be ready for anything. My mental strength proved to be just as important. Hockey never stopped being my motivation. I never turned my back on the game that would one day save me. I am happy to say that I have moved on to the next chapter of my life. I have always been passionate about fitness and strength and conditioning as it pertains to sport performance. And now I'm able to coach athletes of all ages off the ice or playing field. I continue to coach sled hockey through Northeast Passage and the University of New Hampshire, and I'm just amazed at how far the sport has come thanks to our local programs and USA Hockey. My road to where I'm so lucky to be today has not been anything but smooth, but I would not wish it to be any other way. At the end of the day, I wouldn't change a thing. I am thankful for the hand that life has dealt me. Challenges are what shape us and allow us to grow. I would not be the person I am today, like I said, and the support of my family first and the amazing people who have stood by my side throughout this ride. Thank you again for the special honor.
Good job. Good job.
One for Mom.
Here we go.
If I may say,
Yeah.
something that we apologize for this, but something that was left out earlier through no fault of Jim Rivers. But we did miss a couple of our inductees who are present, and I just want to recognize them. One is himself, Jim Rivers. And Ken McKinnon. Ken, please stand. And Merrill Fay. Merrill, we apologize. That's, as the president of this organization, I pledge to correct this in the future.
You always have players over the course of your lifetime who represent sort of nightmares, sort of your worst sense of happening actually happening. And C.J. Feisick, our next honoree, is, believe it or not, one of those for me. You know, Concord, we're on a string of 4 consecutive state championships. Could have been 5. But before the first one, C.J. Feisick showed up on the ice for Manchester Memorial. He was a terrific player at Memorial, scored 72 goals playing for Wally Tafe, but none better than that night down in Manchester when Concord had a 2-0 lead, and he scored 4 in a row. C.J. Feisick would be a great player in that game and a great enough player to be Player of the Year in the state of New Hampshire. Moved on to St. Paul's School in Concord, where he played for Bill Matthews, 49 goals, 39 assists in 2 seasons. Had a terrific career at the University of New Hampshire. Played on the team that lost in the national championship when Timmy Walsh hit a crossbar in overtime, but was a terrific player on that team. Played all 4 years for Dick Umile. Great defensive forward, but 28 goals and 56 points in 128 games played. And he received the Warren Brown Memorial Award for being the best defensive forward at UNH. An inductee into the Queen City Hall of Fame, and a member of the All-New Hampshire Millennium Second Team selected by the Union leader. One of the great high school players at Manchester Memorial and in New Hampshire. Please welcome class of 2015 inductee, C.J. Feisick.
Thank you, everyone. I'd first like to congratulate all the other inductees on this great achievement. A special thank you to the Tafe and Gagnon family for doing a lot of work behind the scenes for allowing me to be here today. So thank you. This is truly just a wonderful, just a great honor. And I'd like to share it with so many people, starting with a lot of my friends and teammates that I play with over the years and along the way. I'd like to share it with my colleagues over at Bauer Hockey. So I consider myself fortunate to work for, one of the greatest brands in hockey. Not just a great company, but great people that, continue to innovate. They inspire and they go above and beyond, not just being the leader in hockey products, but also doing a lot of heavy work with the youth programs, which I think we can all relate to. So I consider myself proud to be part of the Bauer family and the Bauer team. Of course, my family, I'd like to share this with you, starting with my aunts and uncles, my in-laws from Germany, all the way from Germany, Deutschland, ja. My lovely wife, Rena, my special guest, my 8-year-old son, Jaden. It's an 06, Mr. Britannia. He's, him and some of his teammates that I'm fortunate to coach right now have just been totally great to work with. A true blessing, watching these kids have so much fun. Just, just love watching him play. His nickname from his teammates is Feisty, which suits him well. A little guy, works hard, and I'm very proud of him. So thanks for being here today, Jane. Obviously my family. So my mom, my dad, and my sister who sacrificed so much so that I could pursue, my dream of playing hockey. Thank you guys. I believe a lot of my success is a clear byproduct of great coaching along the way. Starting with at the youth level with Jim Burrell, so I'd like to mention a few of these guys who really made a difference in my life. Again, starting at a young age with Jim Burrell, who had me over at the Manchester program all the way up through high school. Did a great job teaching us the basics, the fundamentals, and really preparing us for that next level, which was high school with Coach Wally Tafe, who is, as we all know, a New Hampshire legend. And Coach Tafe showed a lot of confidence in me at an early age. As an undersized freshman, threw me out there right away with the big guns, and really taught me how to survive and how to flourish and how to develop. So it was only rewarding to be able to. I know it's painful for you, but in 1995 it was nice to be able to win that with a lot of my best friends and teammates from, our whole life, all the way up. And it was really special to win it for Coach Tafe. And then, after that, I decided to further challenge myself and move to this lovely city in Concord, where I went to, where I attended St. Paul's, which was a huge challenge, both academically and athletically. And it was just a wonderful experience. And I had another opportunity to play for yet another legend, Coach Bill Matthews, who's just more than a coach or college advisor or faculty member. He was like a father figure for many of us boys and young men away from home, people from around the world. He was just a team leader, and even more so a better person. So I'd like to acknowledge Coach Matthews. Coach Matthews was also my college advisor and had a lot of really good offers, a lot of D1 offers in Ivy League, and Coach Matthews coached me through that whole thing. And when Coach Millie came calling, it was only fitting that I stay close to home with my roots, close to my family, and get to play for yet another Hall of Famer, Coach Dickie Millie. So that was a great opportunity. Those of you who know Coach Millie, he's very intense, very hard-nosed, and I absolutely love playing for him. Just a real player's coach. So I thank him for that great opportunity. And then my favorite coach of all time, who is not a Hall of Famer, but certainly a Hall of Famer in my book, and that's my dad, Rick, who's always been there. You don't have to stand up. Mom, stop crying. You're killing me, Mom. So, my dad's was always the first one, passing me pucks in the driveway, throwing the football around. Eternally grateful. This wasn't supposed to be so emotional until I saw my mom crying. So, right now I'm lucky enough to, like I mentioned earlier, coach my son, who's out there, and a bunch of his teammates. And one of the things I try to teach him and I try to instill in them is that hockey's so much more than just a game, to have fun, to work hard. And, it's great seeing those kids progress. And one thing I tell them too is, and you hear this from all the great ones, what do they miss most? The teammates, the camaraderie, the great stories. And that's something, again, I'm trying to instill in these young kids. And in case in point, since a few of them are here, I'll share a quick story. Last year, when I was coaching the Mite team at the time, we were in a tournament over in Canton, Mass, playing against the Junior Tigers program. We were slightly overmatched, but the kids played gritty, snuck into the semifinals. And, I gave them my best rah speech in the locker room, trying to, we needed to win to make it to the finals. So, I pulled out the Coach Millie, and maybe not as intense. I didn't want to scare the poor kids, but I definitely gave them my, best pep-up speech, and the kids were sitting there and they were focused. They were leaning on their sticks and thinking about the game. And a kid's hand goes up. One of my players' hands goes up, and I'm thinking, great, here we go. We got a team leader here. He's going to step up, get these kids really fired up. Look at the assistant coaches, and they're giving the nod. So I say, yes, Nick? And he says, hey, Coach, do you know these sticks were made in Mexico? So it just really, brought things back. And we talk more about that than we do about the tournament and all the ups and downs. So, and for the record, for my Bauer colleagues, I took Nick aside and said, Nick, I do know your stick was made in Mexico, and if it doesn't work today, time to tell Daddy to buy a Bauer stick. True story. So yeah, it's really the good times like that I think that we're all going to miss and look forward to seeing in the future. So in closing, I'd also like to thank a deep thank you to the legends, all the players that paid their dues, the administration for making all this happen, and really help paving the way for for the other inductees, guys like myself, and the future of New Hampshire hockey. So, thank you.
Gonna get Bruce Parker. Leads Bruce Parker too.
As president, forget it. We missed two others, Brian Stone and Bruce Parker.
I'm staying. Hey, look, as a preventative measure, did we miss anybody else out there? You know, things cause you to remember funny things. We were running our 50th class reunion, and we had a list of all the deceased up on the wall. And somebody in the list walked in the room and said, shit, what'd you guys do? I'm not dead, I'm here. So you always got to be careful making up those definitive kinds of lists, you know. I don't know why I think of this sort of stuff. I must have banged my head. I was a Marine. You can't put those guys down. We want to have all the folks up here for pictures at the end. Listen, we zipped through this pretty good. You know, we've set some records here for being marathons, but we did pretty good tonight. So congratulations to all the honorees. We want the honorees all up here for pictures. Everybody have a picture taken. God bless everybody. Hope to see you back here again next year. Thank you.